Tracking, alerting, protecting. This is WKYT News at 4.
Police are called to a Southern Kentucky home for a report of a missing woman. Why investigators are now also searching for her boyfriend and his brother. She used to work as a principal and assistant principal in Central Kentucky. This afternoon, she's in jail. Find out what police say she did.
It is an absolutely ugly afternoon across many sections of the Bluegrass State. We've got the low clouds, the showers, and those chilly winds. I'll tell you when that may come to an end in just a moment.
Good afternoon. I'm Jennifer Palumbo. Welcome to WKYT News at 4. It is another dreary day, and it's a chilly rain falling in parts of central and eastern Kentucky this afternoon. This is a live look at our sky cam in downtown Lexington, where it is in the 50s right now. Chief Meteorologist Chris Bailey has a first look at the forecast, and Chris, that camera has some rain on it.
Yeah, it had a lot of rain, that dreary sky as you mentioned, but I was noticing, Jennifer, a little bit of the fall coloring showing up into downtown Lexington, so at least we had something to brighten up the camera view out there. Speaking of camera views, how about on the east side of town, over toward Hamburg Pavilion in the distance? A lot of those low clouds are hanging tough, and we've had the on and off showers coming at us in waves, courtesy of that big, stubborn upper level low that just continues to sit and spin across the Bluegrass State. That bad boy is right on top of the Louisville area, southern Indiana, slowly working its way on off toward the east. And under that, those waves of showers have been especially heavy across parts of central and western Kentucky. What is to our west is going to rotate on in. Everything is going from, at this moment, in parts of our region, from southwest to northeast, then spiraling around that big area of low pressure. Lexington Metro catching a bit of a break down toward Richmond as of now. If you're out this evening, gusty showers will continue. Make sure we have the rain gear and the umbrellas. It's chilly with temperatures mainly low and mid 50s. Nasty weather continues, and I'm watching the weekend for the potential for frost. More on that, Jennifer, in just a few minutes.
This afternoon, the search is on for a missing southern Kentucky woman, and investigators fear the worst. Police say 34-year-old Monica Wells was last seen early yesterday morning after a fight with her boyfriend at their home on Providence Road in Pulaski County. Deputies were called to the home for a report of a missing person. They tell us they now believe 35-year-old Johnny Hendricks might have taken Wells into the woods, and she's either severely injured or dead. WKYT's Phil Pendleton has the latest on the investigation. It's our top story at 4.
This all began yesterday when police were called to a home here in eastern Pulaski County. What began with a fight has resulted in the search for 3 people. 34-year-old Monica Wells was last seen early yesterday morning, and her family became very concerned when she did not show up at a bus stop to pick up her 8-year-old son. They say that he witnessed a fight between her and her boyfriend, 35-year-old Johnny Hendricks. Not only is she now missing, but police say they can't find him or his brother, 29-year-old Johnny Pennington.
The child heard him leave on the four-wheeler and return a couple of hours later, and she has not been seen since then.
Police say that Hendricks was last seen driving off into the woods on an ATV. Coming up at 5 o'clock and at 6 o'clock, you're going to hear from Monica Wells' mother on why she fears the worst for her daughter. For now, in Pulaski County, Phil Pendleton, WKYT.
Investigators say the brothers could be driving a black Chevrolet Cavalier with the license plate 793PJJ. A former Central Kentucky principal is in jail accused of sexual abuse. Police arrested Joy Allison Hayes yesterday in Richmond. WKYT has learned she resigned in December from Madison Southern High School in Berea, where she was the assistant principal. She was once the principal at Lexington Traditional Magnet School. Berea police say Hayes had sexual contact with a 17-year-old girl, and the abuse happened this past summer. Hayes was not an assistant principal at the time, but investigators say they did first meet at the school. Hayes faces additional charges involving another teenager. We're tracking the investigation from Berea police on WKYT News at 5. Lexington police have arrested a third suspect in the city's latest homicide. 38-year-old Thomas Lucky is charged with murder and robbery. A man's body was found Monday night at the Premier Car Wash on New Circle Road. His name has not been released. 29-year-old Joseph Sledge and 24-year-old Kavion Thomas have also been charged with murder in the case, and police questioned a woman. She is no longer a person of interest in that case. We're We're working on a number of other stories for WKYT starting at 4:30. WKYT's Amber Philpott is at the live desk with a look at some of the news in progress. Good afternoon, Amber.
Good afternoon to you, Jennifer. Keeneland held a moment of silence today to remember a young jockey, Juan Saez. 17-year-old Saez died last night after he was injured in a racing accident. Officials say the accident happened at Indiana Grand. Members of Keeneland's jockey colony gathered in the winner's circle today during their tribute. We'll have more on that tribute coming up on WKYT News at 5. 3 people accused in a robbery and shooting at a Central Kentucky pizza place were back in court this afternoon. Rico Penix, Robin Adams, and Patrick Brand had a preliminary hearing in Boyle County this afternoon. Police say the trio robbed the Domino's on South Street last month and shot the clerk, 21-year-old Zoe Reed. All 3 have been charged with assault and robbery. 2 other people have also been arrested in connection to this case. Coming up on WKYT News at 5:30, we'll give you the details from court today. In Lexington, firefighters have started a new campaign, and it's urging drivers to be more cautious this weekend. Wreck-Free Day will be held this Sunday. The slogan, "One text or call could wreck it all," is aimed at bringing awareness to distracted driving. Coming up on WKYT News at 4:30, you're going to hear from the Lexington Fire Department on why this coming weekend is one of the most dangerous for drivers. As a look at some of the news that's in progress, Jennifer, back to you.
Thanks, Amber. Now to stories making headlines across the nation at 4. A second healthcare worker has been diagnosed with the Ebola virus in the United States, and CDC officials say she was on an airplane the day before she started showing symptoms. Ryan Nobles has the latest on the impact this could have on the spread of the disease.
29-year-old Amber Vinson is now the second healthcare worker who treated Thomas Eric Duncan in Dallas and then contracted the Ebola virus.
This is a heroic person, a person who dedicated her life and is dedicating her life to helping others.
The day before she started displaying symptoms, Vinson was on a Frontier Airlines flight from Cleveland to Dallas. 132 people were on the flight, and each one will be interviewed and potentially monitored. The CDC's director said Vinson should not have traveled.
Because at that point, she was in a group of individuals known to have exposure to Ebola, she should not have traveled on a commercial airline.
Vinson will be transported to Atlanta's Emory University Hospital, which has already treated 3 Ebola patients. Underscoring the growing threat, President Obama canceled his travel on Wednesday and called an emergency meeting of agencies involved in the response.
We have designated very clear lines of responsibility in terms of which agencies are responsible for which aspects of this response.
The CDC is establishing an Ebola response team that can be in place within hours of a new case and vows to give hospitals a clear understanding of the best way to treat patients and protect their workers.
Standardize that process, because every time you change that equipment, you have to change the process.
A necessity as the threat continues and hospitals brace for the worst. In Washington, I'm Ryan Nobles.
Coming up on WKYT News at 4:30, we'll tell you what extra precautions Lexington healthcare officials are taking to protect their workers. The air campaign against Islamic State militants near the Syrian-Turkish border is intensifying. The U.S. military says it launched 18 airstrikes overnight near the Syrian city of Kobani. Central Command says American bombers and fighter jets destroyed multiple Islamic State fighting positions and hit 16 buildings occupied by the militants. It provided no estimate of casualties. U.S. attack and fighter aircraft also launched 5 airstrikes in Iraq overnight, 1 near Haditha Dam and 4 north of Baghdad. Fears of a global economic slowdown triggered a massive sell-off earlier today in the stock market. The Dow was down by as much as 458 points. It ended the day, though, down 173 to 16,142. The S&P 500 ended up losing 15 and the Nasdaq 12. Airline stocks also dropped on concerns the Ebola scare could reduce air travel. A new type of credit card is coming with a more secure computer chip. Some stores are already accepting the cards that can stop criminals from duplicating your card. But as Julie Watts reports, it may not stop hackers from getting your credit card number.
From Target to Home Depot and all the credit card breaches in between, There's been a lot of talk about chip cards and a lot of unanswered questions.
Well, most people have actually seen these terminals and seen these cards. They don't necessarily know how they work.
But as Verifone's Eric Blute demonstrates, it's simple. Instead of a swipe, with chip cards, you dip.
So when I go to the store, the checker might say, I need you to dip your card.
Absolutely.
But in addition to prompting a shift in our lingo, the global provider of credit card terminals says chip cards will make us significantly more secure, as they've done in Europe for years.
So the stripe on the back of our credit and debit cards is actually incredibly easy to duplicate, whereas the chip is virtually impossible to duplicate.
Counterfeit cards currently account for 1/3 of all credit card fraud. But with a chip card, even if a crook stole your credit card information, they'd physically need your chip to make a purchase in store. But that doesn't mean they wouldn't be able to use it online. As long as retailers continue to store your data, it remains susceptible to crooks.
While crooks won't be able to duplicate your card and use your information in store, it's still not foolproof.
That's correct. And if the system were to get hacked, that card number could get stolen.
Now, many retailers already have the new card terminals. They're expected to be activated by October of 2015. That's a deadline set by the card companies. After that, they say retailers will be held responsible for any resulting fraud. For CBS News, Julie Watts, San Francisco.
A new digital payment service in France will let people pay each other through Twitter. The French banking group BPCE has a new app called S-Money. It can be downloaded from iTunes or Google Play. It allows users with a French credit card and phone number to link their card information to Twitter. They can then start making payments to other individuals or organizations and companies that have downloaded the service. Right now, the service is only available for French users. It's time for better living, health, education, and consumer news that impacts your life. Facebook and Apple are now offering female employees to pay to freeze their eggs. Facebook is already covering the procedure as part of its insurance benefits, and Apple plans to offer the coverage starting in January. Both companies will cover the cost up to $20,000 under slightly different terms. Egg freezing can add up to at least $10,000 for each round of treatment, plus $500 or more each year for storage. The practice allows women to put their fertility on hold so they can have children later in life. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has developed and started using a faster lab test to detect enterovirus D68. The government says it will now take days instead of weeks to process lab results that will indicate when and where an outbreak is underway. Whole Foods starts ranking its produce today. The supermarket chain will label its fruits and vegetables as good, better, or best, based on the producer's farming practices. The new system will also ban several common pesticides. It comes as Whole Foods faces more competition as traditional supermarkets offer more organic food. With October as Breast Cancer Awareness Month, WKYT is once again teaming up with St. Elizabeth Healthcare to provide breast screenings here at the station. The St. Elizabeth Healthcare mobile mammography van will be at WKYT on Tuesday, October 21st from 9:30 a.m. until 6:30 p.m. To make an appointment, just call 859-655-7400. Private insurance will be billed and financial assistance is available to the uninsured thanks to a generous grant from Susan G. Komen Lexington. Last year, we were able to help more than 60 women get screened and potentially save their lives. We have all the information in the Better Living section of WKYT.com. Just in time for the holiday shopping season, a new store is about to open in downtown Lexington. Urban Outfitters will open its first Lexington location tomorrow. It's at the square formerly known as Victorian Square across from Triangle Park. Other restaurants and stores are set to open at the square next month and after the first of the year.